Hi.
Yeah, Cambodia.
Hello, my name is Herton Boatcan. We're back. You know, the break doesn't seem to stop with us here in the studio. It just keeps going. Let me reintroduce our guests. We've got Ambassador Joe Romero, and we've got Professor Gil Santos. And I don't want to waste time, so we'll go straight into it. Now let's talk about the relevance in the Philippine scene, so to speak. You've got the West Philippine Sea, you've got China, the incursions, you've got the rise, the Philippine rise, the Benham rise on the other side. And then you've got the Liberal Party who has voices in their heads. Diba? In spite of the factual surveys that say now, the latest of SWS, which is really pro-Noynoy and Liberal Party, after all, they own it, diba? They're saying 79% favor our president. There's a super disconnect. Why don't we start with the West Philippine Sea? Ikaw, Joe, your points of view.
It's a very complex situation because, well, there's a lot of fake news, there's a lot of misconceptions. I don't know where to start.
Leave the fake news. We already know the fake news, 3 million coming in. They're all dying to get out of China to come into the Philippines to make 10,000 pesos. I mean, that really makes a lot of sense every month. Diba? I mean, I don't understand that part, but let it be. West Philippine Sea. Well, di ba ngayon, tinitira daw ang mga fishermen natin?
Okay, first of all, of course, they talk about the arbitration. It was not an arbitration to start with because China did not agree.
Yeah, it's not. You need two parties.
So, the parties, and it was the American lawyers who haven't been paid up to now who actually argued our case there.
Yes.
But what did they actually say? It didn't give us ownership. I mean, the way you listen, it's just sovereign rights, not sovereignty. It means we can fish there, we can look for oil, and so does everybody else.
Yes.
Actually.
Kasi maraming claimants, hindi lang naman China eh.
And it's not just China. The first
Vietnam.
and we were the first to militarize the area. In 1975, Cloma, Admiral Cloma, and thing came up with the
Cloma was 1960s.
Tayo ba nauna nagbigay
yes.
Scarborough? Okay.
Not Scarborough, Pag-asa.
Pag-asa.
So we created the airport, then we put a battalion there,
yes,
whatever it is.
We still have.
We still have there. So we were the first to militarize the area. Okay, so we've lost that moral thing to tell everybody else. And then the Taiwanese came in, the Malaysians came in, the Vietnamese came in. So it's a free-for-all situation there. Okay. So, so China there, since we didn't have enough of these rotting boats to park.
To dock there. Plus, Noynoy decided to pull it out with the help of Trillanes, di ba?
Yeah. And then we sent a battleship there to try to scare the Chinese off. We captured some Chinese. So, no, this invoked a lot of ill will between the two, you know. So kinana tayo. I mean, they said, okay, you must start something. Okay. So that was the Chinese militarization there. They're going to go to war over that. Why? Because the Americans have 500 bases there, facing the soft underbelly of China, where the industrialization
to keep them in check, supposed to be.
Yeah. And I was telling you earlier, the Manila Trench, west of Mindoro, hides the deepest water in that part of the sea. And
Deepest ba yun sa Mindoro?
Yes.
Yeah, it's about
part,
76,000 feet down.
Wow.
That keeps the U.S. nukes, and with the first strike capability. And the reason why the Chinese are on top, they want to listen in.
All right.
On
what they're doing.
What they're doing there. And then there are also the Malacca Strait there,
right?
Well, which is a thing also. So they're going to go to war,
to establish, to keep their presence,
to listen to what's happening there, all that thing. So we cannot confront them militarily.
Can we say China's biggest enemy is America? I mean, can we rightfully say that?
Of course.
But today,
no, not only that. That is their thinking. That is their belief.
Yeah, but war is no longer symbolic, an issue even. I mean, it's economic trade. The game today is
remember
economics.
To see the trap, which is being discussed in all the American think tanks.
Right.
that the Sparta will overtake Athens. Let us, strike first. And I listened in on a debate in the Shangri-La in Singapore,
Right.
where the American admiral was telling the Chinese that if you keep up this pace of militarization, because your GDP is
Yes,
going
it's
up
going
and
up.
all that thing,
We'll strike first.
then this will create a situation where we might be forced to strike sometime. So the Chinese admiral very, very calmly said, well, do you try it now? And so there's
Siya patigasan, ano?
so
No,
it was quiet all over the room. There was quiet for thing. So I mean that is the situation today. So actually, we are fighting.
Kung mag-gera ang China and America, assumptions, di ba?
Yeah.
So, nagbakbakan.
Yeah.
Sino panalo, sino talo? Of course, talo tayo lahat sa mundo. But,
Well,
sino panalo, sino talo sa kanilang
At this-
I think isang araw lang ata, kaya ng Amerika, pulbusin ng China.
I'll tell you the Chinese narrative. Okay,
Sige.
the Chinese narrative is this. Okay, they have a first strike capability, and they will bomb the cities there. 250 million Chinese will die,
All right.
like Hiroshima.
Yeah,
and,
like Hiroshima, yeah.
Okay, we have a second strike capability, and we will hit 250 million Americans. That's the end of America. But we still have 750 million Chinese.
So, padamihan ng tao.
Yeah, numbers game. It's a numbers game.
And they have, in China, but 5,000 kilometers of underground thing in every city, preparing for this. So it's a question of who has the thing of deterrent to pain. What is your pain threshold?
You think America has a very shallow,
Very shallow pain threshold.
pain threshold.
Yeah, I mean,
Regardless of
in
strength.
in Vietnam, they were.
So bagay sila natalo sa Vietnam.
Because the Vietnamese were ready to die, and
How do you fight someone who's ready to die? No?
Yeah.
ready to die, and it's
Like the
been
guerrillas here.
and it's been the same thing in Afghanistan and all of these things, I mean,
Oh, here.
yeah.
Well, the one thing I wanted to inject here, on the surface, both China and the U.S. don't want war. Why? Because right now, there are 4 reasons I can think of why China doesn't want to go to war right now, unless forced, Number one, the one belt, one road
Exactly.
is going to incur lots of debt.
Mm-mm.
And
It already is
they-
incurring
yes,
a lot of
and
debt.
they want world trust in them because
It'll take a while before the
Last-
yuan is going to be accepted as a foreign currency. Yes.
no, last October in the plenum of the Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping admitted, he said, the sad thing now is there are still more people who distrust China. So that is something, if you look into the historical from the historical perspective, the Chinese loss of face is very, very important, and therefore they want to recover this. Number 2,
China has never invaded in the history, right? Any other country. They've
No,
been
no.
invaded multiple times.
they didn't say invasion, but assimilation.
Yeah,
Okay.
like Tibet.
Now,
Sige, sige.
assimilation is different because it is invasion, a different word. It's a play
Yeah,
of words.
but it's a more pragmatic point of view. I mean, you've got Chinatown all around the world. But go ahead.
No, but this was started by the Huns, the Mongols,
Okay.
the Golden Horde, and this is part of what the Americans believe is still going into the Chinese blood veins, Therefore, you cannot eliminate that. But the second reason why China doesn't want to go to war is because it is going to convert its Bay Area, which is the southeastern part of China, where you have Shenzhen, Guangzhou,
The main cities.
plus the 7 cities in the Pearl River Delta, which they are going to convert into the main financial
District,
and business district of the world, to replace
The
New
new
York,
Paris,
to
London.
replace Paris and London.
Yeah.
Now that is going to take a lot because they already are now prepared to put up the master plan for it, you know.
So the idea is no disruption when it comes to invasion, military action whatsoever.
Correct.
It's incorrect to do it now.
Yes,
Okay.
because one,
The plan's already in motion.
they might win the war against the United States, but that's not a sure thing. That's not a sure thing.
Ito, sure thing to if you go
Yes,
in this direction.
Besides, the Chinese want now to stir up all this economic mentality of the world.
Right,
Because
right.
there is what is the first millennial objective of the United Nations? Eliminate extreme poverty.
Ayun,
Oh.
yes.
And that was the first purpose, which was supposed to end in 2015. Never ended.
Never
The
ended.
Tokyo Protocol said extend it to 2040.
Yes, yes.
So they are now working on that. So I don't think voluntarily they don't want to go to war. You know,
Let me, yeah.
Go ahead.
add something.
Invasion, Chinese stopped thinking invasion because they consulted the Pentagon. And then they said, what happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Syria, what happened in Iraq, etc.
Lessons
How
learned.
much people did it cost you? How much things might
Yeah.
we have?
Talo lahat.
Invasion is very expensive.
Yes.
Occupation forces, etc.
Yeah.
Ask the Russian.
very, very
ask,
yeah.
ask anybody.
And
Right.
reconstruction is more expensive.
Yeah.
And even more expensive, you know. So what is there to gain in
Yeah,
invasion?
nothing.
But right now they're gaining through this BRI.
Ayun.
I mean, they go cutting across to Central Asia, the Mediterranean,
Africa, everywhere.
Africa, over there. They're carving out quite an empire, economic empire, and they're way ahead of everybody else.
I tell you
so
what,
why should they
also-
fight anyone?
Tell you what also, they bought the biggest dairy farm in Tasmania.
I read that. I read about it.
You read that,
So,
eh?
is our president doing right? Is President Duterte, doing right by dealing with the Chinese rather than shunning them away and making our big brother, we're the brown brothers of America?
Yeah.
Is he doing right then?
Right and wrong. Because
The right first?
the right first. Yes, it is correct to be a friend of everybody, enemy of no one.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's our
Yes.
constitution.
However, when it comes to violations of our territory, and I'm talking the Panatag show, then he must be firm. He must be firm. It's not just like saying, yes, we will protest. No, he must, in a face-to-face meeting with Xi Jinping, say, hey,
firm.
you're not doing right.
Yeah.
Be firm about it.
But-
Because any word of weakness or any sense of weakness on the part of the Chinese, weakness on the part of the Filipinos, they'll take advantage
They'll take
of it.
advantage.
Actually, I mean, probably I've been somewhat involved in the process. Backtracking diplomacy is what my thing.
Yes.
I have been to China.
This
talked
is
to
what
the
you do.
People
This is your
and all that sort of thing,
expertise.
because-
Yes.
But there is a misconception about how to conduct diplomacy. First of all, media, front page. We are against thing. Okay, that doesn't work.
Yeah, that's right.
It doesn't work.
No, that's the stupidity of the network owners and the Liberal Party. But continue.
Yeah. Then diplomatic notes.
Yun.
I mean, United Nations, that's the most useless organization.
It seems it.
No.
And they don't even pay rent in New York. Tama, mayor ng New York. Tanggalin mo na yan dyan.
We tried the UNCLOS, but I said it was not an arbitration.
Yeah, it's not arbitration.
Nobody's.
No participation.
U.S. is not part of it.
Yeah,
China not part of it. So thing. So, what do we want? The only way to do it is backroom negotiation. You sit across the table. You sit day in and day out, 24/7, until you get the things
Let's
done.
just not make
And
sure
then
we don't
don't
do
talk about it to the press.
Ayun,
And don't
the
leak
media.
it out in the press. Otherwise, you lose your case.
Yeah.
That's what's been
You
happening.
you're showing all
our
your
biggest
cards.
disadvantage is not our president, but media.
Exactly.
So media has caused all this hullabaloo and it's causing the crisis. Why would media want to do that? Is it because the entrepreneurs, the proprietors
I
of the
think
media network,
there's also,
are they stupid? They can't be. They're billionaires.
but
They're
we're,
not exactly stupid.
remember,
di ba?
we're fighting somebody's fight also, and that party is interested in.
So it's the political interfighting.
No, I'm talking about the other superpowers in the area.
Okay. everyone, Malaysia, for example,
Yeah.
via
Yeah.
Sabah, di ba?
There are other factors.
Indonesia,
Yeah.
Well, the biggest one is the U.S., of course.
The
The U.S., of course. And the U.S. has a lot of interest. They've got 5 main bases here already, so to speak. Well, I don't know if they're called bases or they're just called striking points. You know, gentlemen, alam mo, Gil, you're right. 1 hour is not enough. We should
No.
try. I should ask Philippine management to try and make us 1.5, if not 2.
Minimum 1.5.
Minimum 1.5.
Yes.
Pero nakakapagod kung nanonood ka. Ganito kabilis ang kwentuhan. Eh. I mean, really. What would you like to say to the general public, media, if necessary, the president? How about you start, Joe? Exit message.
Well, you know, as a diplomat, we are trained to keep our cards very close to our chest. And I would like to give that opportunity to this administration to play the game their way, and to not to talk too much about it, because you cannot be telegraphing all your punches. Otherwise, Pacquiao will lose to the next fight. If he tells all of this defense and this offense thing, diba? So that's the way the ball bounces.
Well, deep, very deep. Kaya, Professor Hill.
Okay, I take this as I blame media more than 50% about this, you know, and I blame people like Trillanes, who's going to talk about this so-called back room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wala siya doon na siya
Now,
ni Enrile. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
Now, when it comes to this, media should have a sense of nationalism, the true sense of nationalism, where they take the interest of the nation, of the country, of the sovereign country into heart, you know, and don't mind for a minute, for a second, your profit that you say you're going to lose. You see, the Philippine media, as we started in 1900, began as a duplicate of the American media during that time. And the American media were saying, we are paying for the salaries of the government people. Therefore, we look at the performance of the
Ergo, the
colonial.
fourth estate.
Yes, the fourth estate. Now, that should not be taken literally. There should be some sense of nationalism so that you protect your national interest. When it comes to that, you must be united, you know.
Excellent.
Therefore, the problem is, when do you separate profitability from nationalism? You know?
Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this program. Like I said, we go over your head, and we purposely do that because we assume your intelligence, your critical thought, your analysis, your personal perspectives. The problem is we all have faults. It's not just Kim Jong-un who's nuts and the rocket man. You too are a rocket man. We all are. Me, I like to call myself the Maharishi because I think I'm a know-it-all. But then again, who cares? Know-it-all. You've got that option. Press on, off if you don't like to see my crazy face. Or stay on, learn, understand, and continue with critical thought. What I hate most are people who refuse to read, refuse to listen, does not even wish to engage in discussion or conversation simply because walang alam. Pero nangunguna magiging kritiko. Ang galing. Stay with the teleserye. That's called the fantasy world. Stay on Channel 2 and 7. That's the world that does not exist. I mean, Jesus, understand the meaning of democracy versus your democracy. Then again, I'm talking straight out to you. Alam mo, kung ayaw mo yung sinasabi namin, patayin mo yung telebisyon. Pero kung gusto mo matuto, huwag ka lang basta manood lang dito. Magbasa ka. Alamin mo kung ano nangyayari. Maraming salamat po. Gil?